Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sasha Westerman Kuning, a board certified attorney specialist in immigration and nationality law based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thank you for joining me today for my talk on how does the visa bulletin work. So I was like, one of the most confusing aspects for my clients is when their case is subject to something called the visa bulletin. So what is the visa bulletin? The Visa Bulletin is a document published each month by the U.S. Department of State, which tells us what cases are ready to obtain green cards. And so what do I mean by that? In our main, what we call family preference category, so that's when a family member in the United States is sponsoring a foreigner for a green card. Those family preference categories, there's four of them, go in this order. The first preference is adult children of United States citizens who are unmarried. So that is a child over 21 of a United States citizen who is unmarried. The second preference category is broken into two sub-classifications, what we call the F2A and the F2B category. The F2A category is spouses and minor unmarried children of permanent residents of the United States. And the F2B category are children of permanent residents who are over 21 or married. Now, we have the third preference category, which is the adult married children of United States citizens. And then finally, the fourth preference category, which are brothers and sisters of US citizens. What happens is each year we have an annual quota set of how many people can get visas in each one of those categories. And those quotas, I believe, if my knowledge is correct, come from like the 1952 original Immigration and Nationality Act and have never been adjusted based on population growth. So the annual quotas that have been set are far too small to accommodate the amount of people that file these petitions. So what happens is we get what we call a backlog in most visa categories. And that means that we have more applications filed than numbers in the annual quota. And for that reason, a line begins to happen year after year after year, and it becomes longer and longer for people to get to the front of the line. So what happens is when you file, for example, your petition for your family member, it gets assigned what we call a priority date. Now, for most cases, whether it's family-based or employment-based, because the visa bulletin also applies to our 5 employment-based green card categories. I'm not going to go through all 5 employment-based green card categories, but depending on whether you're getting your green card through what we call extraordinary ability, through a labor certification or perm process, through what we call a national interest waiver, or as a multinational executive manager, it will determine what classification you're in under the visa bulletin. And we have 5 preference categories for employment-based green cards, all subject to annual quotas as well. So whether you're getting sponsored for your green card through employment or sponsored through family members, most people are going to fall under the visa bulletin. Now, the visa bulletin is normally more relevant to family-based categories because they have much longer lines. Often employment categories will not even have any lines, but in recent years, we've been experiencing lines in a lot of the employment categories as well. So what does that mean? All green cards have an underlying basis. So you can't just apply for a green card. You need to have a petition approved that is the basis of the green card. When it comes to family petitions, it is a form that we call an I-130, a petition for alien relative. When it goes for work-based cases, we have an approved petition for alien worker, the form I-140. For the fifth preference employment category, what we call the EB-5 visa, you're going to have an approved I-526 petition. So when you file a case, it's going to get something called a priority date. And that priority date governs when you get to the front of the visa bulletin. So I like to explain it to my clients that your priority date is, like getting a ticket at the deli counter. And if you're number 67 and the deli counter says they're serving number 23, you are going to have to wait one by one until they get to your number. That priority date is kind of like your deli ticket. It tells you where you are in the line. And a lot of these cases have really, really long lines, but I always tell my clients, if you never get your deli ticket, you can never get to the front of the line. So it's a necessary process. Now, with most cases, the priority date is going to be the filing of the I-140 or the I-130 or the I-526 petition. The main exception to that rule is what we call cases based on labor certifications, perm cases, an employer-sponsored green card, where the priority date becomes the date of filing of the labor certification with the Department of Labor. Now, your case gets assigned a priority date, and it's listed very clearly on both the receipt notice and the approval notice. And I'm actually going to share with you guys one. Let me see here. Hold on one second. I'm going to share a screen with you guys that shows you what an approval notice looks like so that I can be able to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we go. So here we have a sample approval notice for a brother or sister United States citizen. And you'll see here that they received the case on November 1st, 2010, and they gave it a priority date of October 28th, 2010. So it means it probably actually was received in the mailroom on October 28th. And you'll see this is an approval notice, notice type approval. And the approval date was January 29, 2015. So it did take almost, over 4 years for this case to get approved, which is normal for a brother and sister case. And then the case was sent to the National Visa Center, which is the agency that manages all the consular interviews around the world. So your receipt notices, your approval notices tell you very clearly what is your priority date, right? And normally it's going to be the filing date, except for in a labor certification case. On an I-140 for labor certification, the priority date is going to be the date the labor certification will file. Now, in order to figure out where you are in the visa bulletin, we have to take a look at the visa bulletin, which, like I said, gets published every month. It usually gets published around the 15th of each month for the following month. So for example, I'm making this video right now. It is July 30th, 2020. And I'm just making sure, right? It is July 30th, 2020. And right around July 15th, we got issued the August visa bulletin telling us what cases are going to be ready for green cards in August, right? So, I, for example, subscribe, so I get every month the Department of State sends me the visa bulletin because I am on their subscriber list. The American Immigration Lawyers Association also sends it out every month when it gets published, but anybody can subscribe to the visa bulletin and be tracking their case as it progresses to see when they're going to get to the front of this line. So let me show you what the visa bulletin looks like to conceptualize all of this. The visa bulletin, like I said, it gets published every month by the Department of State, and it tells us what cases are current. Current is the word that we use, right? So it tells you right here, make it a little bigger for you guys. These are the family-sponsored preference categories, and it just tells you exactly what I was saying, F1, F2A, F2B, what they are. And then we go down here to the visa bulletin chart to see what date is current. So C means current, all the other ones are the dates, and it tells you your priority date must be earlier than the date listed below. So these dates, just so we're clear, and you can tell here from this Mexico, December 1997, that this date here is August 15, 2014. So what that means is that all countries, except for these 4 listed here, they are giving green cards to adult children of US citizens, that's the F1 category, for cases that were filed before August 15, 2014, right? So if you filed your case in July of 2014, you would now be getting your green card in that classification. Now, you'll see here that the F2A, spouses and minor children of residents, is current right now, meaning that you will get your green card right away as soon as your case is approved, or if you're inside the United States, you can file your, what we call your adjustment of status, your green card application, at the same time that you filed the I-130 in that category because it's current. So you can do a concurrent filing. Everyone else has to wait in these lines for their green card to become available. And that has nothing to do with the date of approval. So, going back to, where did it go? That approval notice that I showed you, that has a priority date of October 2010, this was approved in 2015, this person probably waited another almost 9 years for their green card to become available, because the approval date has nothing to do with when the visa is going to become available and when you're actually going to get your green card. That is all governed by the visa bulletin. So just going back over here to the visa bulletin. Second. Going back over here to the visa bulletin, we can see that, using our model case there, that obviously right now in the F4 category, they are giving green cards to people who filed their cases before September 8th of 2006. So this person who had got their approval 5 years ago already, January of 2015, their case was filed in November of 2010, they still are not eligible for a green card right now. They're still in line waiting. It doesn't matter if the case was approved 5 years ago. They have to now wait for that priority date to come up in this chart. And right now the priority date is September 8th of 2006. So, if that was my client, I would be telling them you're looking at still another 3 to 4 years to get your green card as the brother or sister of an American citizen. That is assuming the person is not from one of these other 4 countries listed here. Why do these countries have their own list? Is that discrimination? What's going on there? It's a very simple explanation. We have an annual quota for the whole category, and they're actually listed up here. So for example, we're only allowed to use 23,000 visas in the F1 category for children, adult children of US citizens. And if any country, then we have, so that's the annual cap for the whole category. Then we have a per country cap, meaning that no one country can use all of the visas, right? Try to make it fair to everybody else. So for example, a country like China, which has over 1 billion people, they're just going to use more petitions because of their population size. I mean, nothing to do with even the amount of immigration from China to the United States. It's just logically with 1 billion people, you're going to have a lot more petitions being used, right? So China, for example, can only use their maximum per country. And once they max out their country's quota for that year, they have to wait in line, and their line continues to grow and grow and grow. So India basically is the same problem as China. Its population size, there's, I believe, now over 1 billion Indians now in the world. So there's just so many that they have the same quota as Malta, which has like nobody in it. So the quota doesn't change based on the population size. You can be a tiny country and have the same annual country cap quota as a place like China and India. Mexico, you'll see, has a horrible line. So if you are a US citizen and you want your adult child to come over from Mexico, the current wait time is, God, I can't even do math. We're in 2020 right now. This is 1997. So that is 23 years, right? So it would take 23 years for your child to come to the United States if you are a United States citizen from Mexico. And Mexico obviously is a big country with a large population, but they have more applications than most other countries because of obviously the historical and geographical relation between the United States and Mexico. The same thing with the Philippines, because it was a territory, because of the historical relationship between the US and the Philippines. We have a lot of Filipino Americans doing petitions for family members, and they just use their country cap as well. So China and India are more about population size, although we do obviously have significant populations of Chinese and Indian nationals in the US. And Mexico and Philippines are more about the historical relationship between the two countries and just always using their country cap. So as long as you're not from one of those countries, you fall into the regular, all other chargeability areas, and you would use this column in the chart, the first column here. Otherwise, you need to look at this chart. And you'll see that there's certain countries like Mexico, brothers and sisters are 98. This is adult married children of US citizens, 96. So it's a long, long wait time if you're Mexican. And this is honestly why we have so many Mexicans crossing the border, because you could have not seen your parents for 20 years because you're in a 23-year wait time, even though your parents are a US citizen, to get your green card. Or you could just come across the border and be with your family right away. And so a lot of people choose to do that. And when you hear on the news, like wait in the line, wait in the line, wait in the line, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about the visa bulletin. These are those lines that the news famously discuss, right? So, like I said, those lines apply to the family categories, and then they also apply to the employment category. So I'm going to scroll down here and show you guys the visa bulletin for the employment-based preference categories. And like I told you, there's different types of employment-based categories, 5 preferences. And then you have to go down to the chart, and we have another separate column for Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and then also for Vietnam, because they reach their country caps as well normally each year in employment cases. Now, we have many, like I said, it's not as much of a problem, the visa bulletin for employment categories, because there's a ton of categories that are current. Just looking at all countries but these, 8 that are separated, you can see here that the first preference is current, the second preference is current, fourth preference is current, and fifth preference is current. So you can file a green card right away as soon as you have your approval notice in any of those categories, and you can file concurrently your green card and your I-140 petition or I-526 petition in many of these categories. So that is great. The third preference is the only one that you can't do that right now for. And there was a line in the first preference category earlier this year, so this changes every month. We have to look at it every single month and see how did the visa bulletin shift, who's current, who's not current, and you have to wait in your line until your number becomes available. So like right now I have a labor certification case where the priority date is October 2019, and we have to wait. It's a third preference category because they're only giving green cards to people who have their labor certification started before April 1st of 2019. So every month we wait and we see what is the number, see who's current, see whose green card can get filed, who cannot get filed. Now, a few years ago, they changed the visa bulletin and they made 2 charts in each category. So we have final actions for employment-based, and then here we have the dates of filing for employment-based. Dates of filing are used for the consular cases mostly. They want you to start processing through the consulate earlier because by the time you get to the interview line, your number is going to be available. So these are mostly applied to if you're applying through the consulate, you can start a little earlier because it takes you a while to go through that processing. Now, it's really confusing. Maybe you didn't understand anything I just said because it's so confusing, and it's confusing even for immigration lawyers sometimes. But the point is that not everybody is ready to file their green card, and even getting an approval of a case doesn't mean that your case is ready for a green card. All of that is decided by the visa bulletin, and nobody can predict the visa bulletin. It sometimes goes backwards. So, we can be in one month, and the month will say, we're giving green cards to people who filed, before April 15th, 2016. And then the next month, the visa bulletin will come out and it will say, we're only giving green cards to people who applied before March of 2016. And you're like, I am in June of 2016. Why did it go backwards? And the reality is that even the Department of State and the Department of Homeland Security don't know how many numbers are going to be used in the quota. because of these long wait times. You know, for example, if I'm in a brother-sister category where there's a 14-year wait time, it could be that at the time I filed my application initially, I was unmarried, I had no children. I would have used up one visa in the annual quota. By the time my green card became available, 13 years later, and I'm starting the process, I could be married with 3 children. Legally, all of my family members can come with me as my derivatives in that category. So now instead of me using one number in the visa quota, I'm now using 5 because it's one for me, one for my spouse, and one for these 3 children. Now, the Department of State doesn't know that until you go and apply for the visas, how many you're going to use. We have cases where dependents don't want to immigrate with the other person. So even they may have been listed on the application, but they decided they're not going to come to the US. It's an adult child, and the child's now married to their own spouse and have kids in their home country, and they don't want to come with the parent and leave their spouse and children who aren't getting green cards as derivatives because they're the grandkids and the son-in-law of the principal applicant, so they can't come with the other parent. And they decide not to use the visa. So there's no way for them to predict 100% who's going to use numbers and who's not going to use numbers. Some people, you know, because so much time has gone past, they don't want to come to the US anymore and they're not going to use any numbers. Other cases, I mean, someone could have died and not use a number. So there's just no way to predict how many numbers are going to be used. And that's why we all have to look every month in the middle of the month when the visa bulletin gets published to see what is going to be the numbers for the following month. So, you know, here again, just going to go back to the visa bulletin for 1 second and show you guys. So we were looking at the visa bulletin. This is, I'm looking at final action dates for employment-based, right? This was, we are in the August 2020 visa bulletin, right? And if we go here, we can look at the current visa bulletin for July and kind of compare. So you see, it jumped a lot. It's also not routine, you know, uniform on how much it jumps, how far it goes forward, goes back. That's why it's so hard to estimate these things. But in July, for example, we were giving green cards to, in the 3rd preference employment category, for people who filed before April 15th of 2018. And then in the August visa bulletin, it was already jumped to April 15 of 2019. It jumped a full year in a 1-month visa bulletin period. So it's just complete unpredictability. You do not know. You have to check it every month. You can try to guess, and there's like all these websites whose jobs it is just to try to guess the visa bulletin, but it's not something that's really guessable. There are predictions, let's say, but nobody knows until it comes out, right? So let's just take a look again at the family preference. So we have July 8th, 2014, May 1st, 2015, May 8th, 2008, August 22nd, 2006. This is the July visa bulletin. And we're going to go back to August and compare those numbers and see how much did it jump in that 1-month period. Because it doesn't jump like month by month. It's completely arbitrary. So I wish I had left the other screen open, but I didn't. August 15th, 2014, I think that was the same. I didn't think it moved. Actually, let's go. Let's be smart. Let's be smart, guys. And let's open link in a new window. Okay, and so we have, which one was it? That one's August, so let's open July. Okay, so now, oh wait, so here we go, here. So we have July 8th, 2014 in F1, right? And then we had in August 15, 2014. So we jumped from July 8th, 2014 to August 15, 2014. So that was, sorry, the visa bulletin's asking me for, tell me about their experience. They don't want to know what I think about them. Just kidding. Actually, I'm being very serious. So yeah, so you can see that you can go back and forth and see, but it does not align. So this one's August again. We go here to July. So let's look at the fourth preference. It was August 22nd, 2006. And then it became September 8th, 2006. So that one only jumped 2 weeks in the 1 month period. So it's just, there's just no real formula to be able to guess these things. And I always tell my clients, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. I got to look at the visa bulletin every month just the same way and find out if your case is going to be available for green card filing or not. Now, I always recommend to all my clients, and this is the last thing I'm going to share with you guys, that they subscribe to the visa bulletin. It's very easy to show you. Here at the bottom, attaining the monthly visa bulletin to be placed on the Department of State's email subscription list. Send email to the listserv in the by type, say subscribe visa bulletin. So you just do that and you'll get the visa bulletin emailed to you every month. I mean, obviously you can always go online and look at it each month. But if you want to be notified when it first gets published in the middle of each month, you just subscribe to it and you can track your own case. And so you look at your receipt notice, you see what your priority date is, and you match it up with the chart. It's complicated trying to guess where it goes, but the actual just following it month to month is very simple. I always recommend that all of my clients do that. Now, it's frustrating for some people, you know, they don't understand why their friend's able to do their green card right away, but they're not. But it could be that your friend is in the second preference employment category because he has a master's degree, and you're in the third preference employment category because you don't have a master's degree. And so, you know, his case is current and your case is not current. So every case always has to be looked at individually. The priority date has to be known in order to be able to figure out how long we guess it will be until a green card is available. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. This is Sasha Westerman with, I'm going to disappear on the screen, Ristova Westerman Immigration Law. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel free to drop me any questions in the comments. I hope you have learned a little bit more about the visa bulletin and that you thought this was useful. And if you did, please subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this, teaching people just the basics of immigration law. And so people can understand, you know, like I said, when you hear on the news, why don't they just do it legally? Why don't they wait in the line? You can see why it's really hard, especially in some of these family categories, to be separated from family members for so long and to wait in lines that are 14 years. That's the everybody's line for brothers and sisters, or if you happen to be of the misfortune of being something like Filipino or Mexico, you'd be waiting 20, 25 years in line to be with your family members. So it's frustrating to wait in such a long line. If the lines were more reasonable, I think people would gladly wait, but the lines, you know, are somewhat unreasonable. And like I said, that has to come from, in my opinion, the fact that the quotas have not been adjusted for population growth. So, you know, we only had, you know, actually, let's see, we only had, I'm going to Google it, and what was the population in 1952 when I believe those quotas were implemented. So, I mean, it's crazy. The world population in 1952 was 2.6 billion, and now we're going to be hitting 8 billion any day now. So we've had 6 billion, or at least 5 billion new people added to the world population since these quotas were made. So of course the quotas are just way out of date. There should have been, I don't think they were really conceptualizing our exponential population growth that we were going to have during the course of this century and last century. But there should have, I think, been a provision saying that the quotas should be, you know, every 10 years reevaluated for population growth, worldwide population growth. Those categories made sense, those quotas made sense when the population was 5 billion less people on the planet. So anyway, I'm going to try to provide little tidbits of information, I think, place these things into their historical context in a non-political way, so that people can understand why both sides, you know, why it's frustrating to just tell people to do it the legal way when the legal way is so tough and takes so long. On the flip side, how we can fix the legal system to be better so that we are encouraging people to do things the right way and making it a favorable process for them. Because I think, you know, ultimately we're all in agreement that legal immigration is the proper way to do things. We just have to have a system in place that is reasonable and, you know, incentivizes people to do it legally instead of illegally. You know, like I said, as a Mexican, as a human being, if I had been, you know, my whole family was here and I was waiting on a brother sister petition for 25 years, and I'm just looking at, oh, I can, like, you know, pay somebody to take me over the border, be my family right away, and not wait 25 years. It's easy to understand from a human perspective why somebody would do that. You know, it's easy to tell them they should have waited in line if you think the line is only a few years. You know, when I talk to them, I'm like, so how long do you think that line is? And then, you know, I would average, people say like something, people way underestimate, people are like 2-3 years. Like, no, like try add 20 to that guess, 23 years. And so, you know, I just think people need to understand what this is really all about. They can contextualize what it would be like to be without their family members for over 20 years. When you put it into that perspective for people, it really, I think, opens up their eyes. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll jump on again and check out some more of our videos. Take care.